Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm going to continue with my advice for young men who are currently in a crisis situation, especially in the Western world, but increasingly also in the East. In the previous talk, I mentioned that the world views men as human doings and not human beings. Truth be told, men view men as human doings, and we individually view ourselves as human doings. And proof of that is the extent to which we blame ourselves when we fail at doing something, or the fact that we feel worthless and useless when we are unaccomplished. We validate ourselves through our accomplishments, and we view accomplishments as a mark of who we are. And there lies within us a core difference between who we are and how we view ourselves as men, and who women are and how we view women. The reality of men and the reality of women is that they are very, very different species or very, very different types of beings within the same species. Women are valuable having accomplished nothing, generally speaking. That is because often men value women for their beauty. And valuing a woman for her beauty is not really because she's beautiful, but because her beauty is an indication of her fertility. And hence, if a woman is suitably beautiful and can bear children, she is valuable. She is valuable in and of herself. Whereas a man is not valuable in and of himself. He does not by himself bear the responsibility of bringing children into this world, and he is not by himself responsible for perpetuating the species, at least not at that level. And so, what do I mean by this? Well, it is down to the numbers. Technically, men are redundant biologically in terms of the ability to procreate. Frankly, one very happy man can impregnate hundreds of women. And in terms of ability, he is by himself worth 100 men. It means that 99 men out of the 100 are not as useful as any one particular man within the set. That being the case, men are redundant. And because men are redundant in that way, their value does not lie in their sexuality. Their value does not lie in their intrinsic ability to copulate. Okay? And in that way, men are very, very different from women because the value of a woman lies in her ability to give birth. And this is an ability that women are, for the most part, born with, bearing a few exceptions, women who are barren and so on. And so, in order for men to be seen as valuable, they must possess other features of attraction. And these features include the ability to provide and the ability to protect. These are natural features that men must harness in order to attract a mate, at least historically. And we will mention why that is briefly. When a woman chooses a mate, it is someone that must be able to look after the children that will come from that activity. Mating brings about progeny. That is, in any case, the natural consequence of it. And so when women choose a long-term mate, they choose men who are going to be good providers, who are going to be able to protect them, and who has social influence in the world, who have men who have social capital. Because social capital is an indicator of being capable, of being able to provide, being able to protect. So men, young men, if you are listening to me, since you now know that you are not a human being, you are a human doing, you need to focus on what you are able to do and not focus on anything else. That is my first piece of advice. To you young men, you need to focus on yourself, developing yourself, and developing your abilities. Because it is your abilities and your accomplishments that are valued in this world and not who you are as a man. Because who you are as a man can never be divorced from what you have accomplished in life. And this is also just a fact of being. If you take a man who has spent time on developing himself, his personality, his competencies, his physical prowess, even though he may not have anything tangible to show for it, this has added to his being. And so, my advice to you, young men, is that you are not valuable just because you are a man. Women are valuable just because they are women. And that is the reality of the situation. You are valuable because of what? Number one, you have achieved in your life. Number two, because you have developed yourself, your skills, your abilities, your competencies. And three, because of what you are able to give. What you are able to give. And this is not only other people that value you because of those things, you, in fact, value yourself because of those things. I advise you to focus on developing yourself and becoming competent in various things, in various ways, harnessing various skills that will benefit you in the long run. So you might ask yourself, what skills will benefit me in the long run? What should I be working on? In terms of careers, I would advise you focus on things that women don't do well in, and that women tend not to focus much on, and that they don't gravitate towards masculine things. Because these things are going to reinforce your masculine identity. And a masculine identity is very important for a man. And increasingly, it is becoming very, very difficult for a man to uphold his masculine identity. And that's why so many men are in a crisis today. So which fields are they? They are fields that involve a certain amount of danger and risk, because women tend not to go for those types of jobs, like working on an oil rig, being an engineer, a mechanical engineer, for example, working in the STEM fields, science. There are not that many women in those fields, not because it's not available to them, but because they opt not to do it. And leave alone, I would suggest, and I'm not saying this as a rule, I'm not saying this needs to happen, it's my suggestion. Leave alone the humanities. Forget about it. The humanities are flooded with crazy people who have weird ideas about how things ought to be, and the social justice warrior types and feminists and all of that. And you don't want to be around that if you want true peace of mind as a man. I would suggest just avoid it altogether. And then further, if you are not looking for a long-term relationship, I would suggest you ignore your lust entirely. Busy yourself with working hard on what you are doing, and use your excess energy to train hard, physical training. Do a martial art, do boxing, do kickboxing, do Muay Thai, do Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, go into weightlifting. Do something with all that energy you have, but don't waste it on women. Not while you are not ready, while you feel you are not ready for a long-term committed relationship. Engaging in casual, short-term relationships are not healthy for you and your feeling comfortable within your masculine self. Short-term relationships makes a mockery of who you are. It's you telling yourself that you don't respect yourself. And the way it does that is because it negates the instinct, the masculine instinct, of having a family, of having a family that belongs to you. Okay, I don't have a better word or more politically correct word to use, but it negates the instinct of being able to call a woman your woman. This is my woman. Because you can never call a woman that who is going to spend a day or 2 days or a week with you. And the more you engage in that type of relationship, the less manly you become. The more you will gravitate towards not being able to make a success of a long-term relationship. And one of the reasons for this is because you are engaging in the fun of having access to a woman's body without taking the requisite responsibility that ought to go with that in terms of the historical man and in terms of manliness. And so it is entirely unmanly and detrimental to your masculine energy and spirit to engage in such types of relationships. Leave that to the others. When you have reached a certain point in your life where you now feel comfortable to settle down and have a family, then engage in a serious, committed relationship, a long-term relationship, a marriage that is going to help you accomplish those needs of yours in a meaningful way. But until then, just leave it alone. Leave it be. Because every one-night stand, every woman that you engage with in those little flings are a total and utter waste of time. Thank you.